Here's the Deal is proud to present our very first sponsor. It's B&G Chicago Catering. If you're in the mood for fresh, authentic Chicago style favorites, check out B&G Chicago Catering. Founded by two Marine vets, and no, there's no crayon flavors involved here. B&G Chicago Catering's professional mobile food cart service, well suited for large crowds and intimate gatherings. Currently serving the Metro Phoenix and Metro Tucson areas. B&G Chicago Catering will drive up to your next event, business storefront, or private party. Chicago classics like Chicago dogs, my personal favorite is the Italian beef, bratwurst, Polish sausage. They got tamales and more. All their food is made to order, hot and fresh, using only Vienna products. B&G Chicago Catering comes fully equipped and takes care of all the cleanup. So if you're looking for a way to give back to your employees and all the efforts they've been putting forth this year, need a last minute option for a small intimate birthday party, need to spotlight your storefront reopening, which hopefully they all get there soon, check out B&G Chicago Catering. You can find them at www.bgchicagocatering.com. You can follow them on Instagram at BG Chicago Catering 520. Give them a call at 520-262-7596. Yeah, how you doing? This is Chris Flowers, your host of Here's the Deal. Okay. Anybody out there knows me, knows I constantly have a cup of coffee in my hand at all times, right? I'm like a pot plus guy a day. Let me tell you something. Tyler's Coffee down in Tucson, Arizona, hands down, best cup of coffee ever had. First of all, it's organically acid free. You don't have that acid taste. You know, when you drink a pot of coffee a day, you know how much acid I got in my stomach after a while? Forget about it. This stuff, 3 cups a day, tops, I'm done. And it's so smooth. All right. No acid in it, organically acid free. It's got like way more caffeine than a regular cup of coffee, and it's natural caffeine. All right. So by far the highest quality coffee you've ever had in your life. I'm telling you, from caffeine positive is my blood type. You understand? This is what I drink now. 3 cups of coffee a day. I'm done. You can get it at Tyler's Coffees with an S at the end.com. You can get it at Natural Grocers, Walmart, AJ's, Amazon. Tyler's Coffee. If you're a coffee drinker like me, this is your next cup of coffee right here.
Hello. Hi, Chris.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Chris Flowers with Here's the Deal, and as you heard, I got Brandy Braveboy. I'm interviewing today. She's a personal friend of mine. She has just recently retired from the United States Air Force. I had the honor and privilege of being at her retirement ceremony. She was gracious enough to invite me there. Now she has gone off and she is in commercial real estate. Now, like last week we talked about with Ray Gonzalez. Merchant card process, that's like the life's blood of your business. Well, you're not going to make a bigger investment in your business than either your commercial building or leasing commercial space. And there's just so many pitfalls, and there's so many, like I said, like Ray was talking about, just all these little nuances and things like that. Commercial real estate's 100 times worse. So I want everybody out there, all listeners, here's the deal. You have a United States Air Force veteran who has your six, okay? She is going to make sure that you get the best deal possible. She's going to make sure that you are covered. You know what I'm saying? She's going to have your six, and she's going to make sure that all these little nuances, things that a civilian to commercial real estate don't know about, she knows about. So I'm here to introduce Brandy Braveboy, and she's going to get into some of those things. But first, Brandy, why don't you go ahead and give everybody a little bit of background about yourself? And like I said, you didn't come from Milpay. You're like me. You came from a pretty high speed MOS, and then you're just like, I'm gonna go into commercial real estate. And you got to tell that Forrest Gump story. That is just funny as hell.
Oh, yes. Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity. I feel really blessed to be able to connect with you and some of your listeners. So I really appreciate this opportunity. But I wanted to tell you guys, no, I haven't been just produced out of the mill of real estate and thrown into the fire. I am a 20-year vet, like Chris was saying. I loved serving in my country, but the whole time I dreamt about the opportunity to come into commercial real estate and help small business owners and large corporations find the perfect space. And like Chris was saying, I have a best friend, and she's like my Bubba Gump from Forrest Gump. And basically, we would sit around in these deployments and in these bungholes and foxholes, and we would be deployed in Afghanistan. And the whole time, all I could think about and talk about to my best friend and my battle buddy was they got commercial leasing, they got commercial buildings, industrial, retail, shrimp stew, shrimp etouffee, fried shrimp, shrimp
She told the
gumbo.
story at a retirement party too. It was hilarious.
Oh, I would talk about it for hours. I really have a passion for what I do. So I'm excited to share with you guys some of the common pitfalls and little tidbits of information that most small business owners or beginning business or expanding business owners, they face a lot of difficulty in commercial real estate. So I kind of wanted to help share some tips and tricks of the trade. So I appreciate this, Chris.
Oh yeah, no, not a problem. So okay, so Brandy, like I said, what I'm trying to do here, here's the deal, and you've heard the stories before, because you're a subscriber. So what we try to do is we just try to inspire veterans to follow their passion and follow their dreams. Okay, now just
Right.
because like I said, if you're 11 Bravo, or if you're like me, being security forces and going and being a forward observer. Now, like I said, now tell everybody about your MOS. And
Oh,
like I said,
yeah.
then you transition from your MOS, which is like I said, really high speed. You're up front, and then you
Hmm.
go into commercial real estate. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
You
yeah.
follow you because you followed your passion.
You're right. You're right, Chris. It was very challenging. My previous MOS or AFSC, they call it in the Air Force. So it was 1P01. And basically what that is aircrew flight equipment. So I went from packing parachutes and survival equipment for pilots, their oxygen masks, ejection seats, all of that
Mm-hmm.
life-saving equipment aboard several different airframes. I had several different pilots, and I would manage the logistics, supplies, and the actual training to
Mm-hmm.
support these guys. So we were downrange, several different missions, and I did it for 20 years and 11 different deployments. So I spent a lot of time in the sandbox. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I definitely enjoyed my career. But for those veterans who this transition to commercial real estate, it was while it was very different and it seems scary and challenging, like anything else we faced in our life, like it just takes discipline and practice. So
Roger that.
I encourage them to definitely, like, if you love it, if you're interested in it and you find some kind of fire, just chase that with everything you have. And commercial real estate and any portion of real estate, from the financial side with Chris and his team to the boots out on the ground showing the facilities, like, I definitely, you can do it no matter what your AFSC was before. A lot of those skills, they actually apply. The planning, the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
logistics,
Yep.
the forethought and the detail orientation. And I
And the
think,
grit. The grit.
oh yeah, oh yeah, Chris. Like the detail and grit, like willing to grind. So for my clients, I get up early. I'm willing to meet their timeline. That's not a new concept to a military service person, right?
Nope.
Like we know you got to be on call 24 hours on and off duty, you serve. And that's the beauty that we bring to our clients, is that we're willing to serve our clients just like we serve our country. Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Those are the things that correlate. So, like I said, you didn't come from mill pay, neither did I. But like I said, we found our passion, we found our fire, and then like I said, what was going to stop us from pursuing it? Absolutely nothing. So
Right.
that's the thing I try to encourage those veterans that are out there. Like I said, some people, they find a good job and they're comfortable and that's what they're happy doing. That great. But if you, like I said, you got
Mhm.
that thing in your chest, someone's like, nah, I just want to go do this thing. I don't care what it is. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's an art. I don't care if you want to do art. If you want to play an instrument. If you want to get into commercial real estate or commercial finance. I mean, hey, whatever that passion is, man, you got to go for it. You just got to, well, like I said, with everything that we've been through in the military, what can possibly stop us from achieving our goals?
That's true. I mean, it's daunting. It's scary because it's such a different
Absolutely.
lifestyle, but you're right, Chris. Nothing's in the way. If you can adapt and overcome to the transition from civilian to active duty military, you can adapt and overcome the situation of going back as well. You're strong enough to come in and you're strong enough to transition out. You can make it. Yeah.
Roger that. Roger that.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so now again, I know from being in the commercial real estate side, okay,
Hmm.
that again, this is the biggest when you're sitting at home and you start your business and you're doing it out of your garage, you do it out of your kitchen table, you get to a point where you're going like, okay, I'm outgrowing the garage here. I'm busting at the seams. I got to get into some type of, I got to get into like, an office. I got to get into, or I got to get into some type of a warehouse space or something like that. Now we're big time. Now we're going to take this next step. So I know, again, how crucial this can be, but what a lot of people obviously don't know out there, they're going to go out there, they're going to see this space for lease, and they're going to go talk to somebody that's, that's out there like, oh, and they're going to tell you they're going to tell you everything that's going on with the building, such and such like that. But here's what my brothers and sisters of the D214 need to know. That agent that you're talking to, they ain't trying to help you out. They're there working for the landlord, okay? They're going to get the landlord the best deal. They're going to get the landlord the best rate, all that. Now, Brandy's going to explain to you why exactly you want her to have your 6, because you need somebody on your side of the table to negotiate.
You're exactly right, Chris. That's like a common flaw that happens to a lot of startups or small business owners that are looking to expand. They are not very familiar with how commercial real estate. It's a lot different from residential real estate, right? They go out, they try and
180 degrees
find.
different from buying your house.
Woo!
180 degrees.
Yes, it is. So they go out looking for this space, like, oh, I need about 1,000 square feet. I'm not looking for anything big, and they just go kind of knocking on doors. Well, when you do that, like you said, Chris, they're that agent on the other side of that phone, when you're not represented or you don't have anyone on your side of the table, that agent, when you call that number, they represent the landlord. And what happens there is that most startup businesses will start off like, well, just tell me how much per month, and then want to make sure it's in the budget, and then they'll just press forward. Well, when you do that, there's a lot of terms that can be negotiated in a commercial lease, right? So when you do that, oftentimes, most startup companies, they'll miss out on things like repairs or annual increases, right? Those are things that are not discussed as well, and associated taxes that go along with it. And also another thing that they miss out on is most locations out here in the West Valley or in the Phoenix Valley area, they'll have associated common area maintenance fees, which can be new to someone who doesn't understand, or has never done it before. You share a portion of an entire subdivision in some locations. And that will be a shocker too. Like, what are these extra fees, And oftentimes people think that when they quote them the price, that everything is included in that price. You really have to sit down with that lease and go over it with a fine-tooth comb. And these are sometimes long contracts, And so that's why it's super important that you partner with someone or have someone who has experience in the industry that will go over these terms with you and explain the process step by step, right? And so when you do that, right, there's someone, even when you get into negotiation, who will advocate on your behalf, right? Like, no, you shouldn't be paying, a super high increase every year. They put a cheap rate for you to get in, and then the bump ups are extremely high and you didn't foresee that, or you're not prepared for that. And sometimes the build out expenses, if you need to adjust the space, someone who's experienced can negotiate that the landlord or the owner will modify that space to fit your needs. But you might not know about options like that if it's your first time or you don't have anyone on your side. So those are some of the common mistakes that people make when they first go out looking for a new space, out there. Like, I just need an office or a retail space. They often overlook these kind of concepts.
The beauty of it is too, I think, like I said, what I like obviously about working with you, and I work a lot in the veteran space as well, is that you speak both languages. Not only do you speak commercial real estate, but you speak veteran. So I said, so when you're talking to us, you're going to put it in terms that we're going to understand. So, okay, that makes sense, because, business owners, they know how to make their widgets and things like that. This is a whole new, undiscovered country for them. So at least, like I said, you get to break it down, especially in a language that we can all understand. You know what we didn't do, Brandy? We didn't introduce you properly. We didn't even tell everybody who you're working for. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
That's on me.
I was so excited just to share, just share
I just
a
want to
little
get
bit
in
about
this
it. But
because
yes.
there's so much information in here. So I was just jumping right in. So go ahead and give everybody.
You're right. You're right. So my name is Brandy Braveboy, and I work with Phoenix West Commercial Real Estate Group. And they are an amazing team who've been in the west side of the valley predominantly, but we work through all throughout the valley for the past 12 years. And they have a wide range of products from or industrial portions like office, retail, industrial, investment portfolios. They do a lot of services as a team. And what's great about that is that they have a long-standing relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the key word,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially with financial connections to construction, to general contractors, all you name it, start to finish. We provide services to assist our clients through the entire, and we grow with them as well. And that's the most beautiful part of it all is that while it's just a startup, it's fascinating to watch them grow from a small startup expanding to 4 and 5 locations. And you'll need a team of people helping you expand to that kind of level. So we love to partner with our local businesses and help them with their progress.
Because
Yeah,
that's the one
yeah.
thing about Phoenix Westlight is that they realize, okay, so you're leasing, commercial space today. This is your first commercial lease. You're just renting, maybe let's say maybe 1,000, 2,000 square feet. A couple of years
Yeah.
from now, you might be looking to buy that space, or you might be looking to you realize that you're busting out the scene. You're ready to grow into the next building, or like I
Mm-hmm.
said, if you're thinking like I deal with my clients all the time, I try to tell them too. Think of the exit strategy. Okay, think end game. Okay, so right now, within the first couple of years, yeah, you're going to be leasing space, but you want to start thinking about buying that real estate because that could be your retirement plan to where you could sell the
Mm-hmm.
operating company and then you can still be collecting the lease payments from the person that you sold the operating company to, and that's your retirement income moving forward.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those are the most beautiful. Watching them go from a small space to owning the building or owning the shopping center. It's a beautiful transition and expanding throughout more locations. It's amazing to watch the growth and partner with them on the journey. Oh yes. We love to walk them through that process and guide them and present different ideas to them, and just any interest you may have, we're more than happy to sit down and discuss it. And that's the beauty, Chris, too, is that I think a lot of people are under the assumption that it would be expensive to afford services like that, right? Like you would think that, like, oh, that kind of advice or that kind of guidance, but oftentimes you can call us for free and we'll meet with you, sit down, go over some options and different ideas that might assist you with your growth and projected plans in the future. And that's of no cost. And then the other part is while uh, veterans are finding space, you think like, all right, what's the price tag going to be on all of these services since you're going to help me so much? That's what I would wonder. And then oftentimes new business owners are surprised to realize that our services, our commissions, or how we're paid is through the landlords, not actually through the clients majority of the
You want to break
time.
that
The only
want to break
time,
that down one more time, just in case people were, yeah.
yes,
Who pays you? Who pays you?
that's good. That's good. Okay, so we are paid by the owner of the property, not by the tenant or our client. So
Boom.
unless they go out on a wild tangent, but and decide to negotiate on their own, and but oftentimes if that's the case, they we're not partnered with that anyway. But most of the time, majority of the time, our commissions or we are paid by the landlord or the owner, not the small business owner moving into the
That's a
space.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing that not a lot of people know about. So
Right?
can I ask all
Right?
my listeners out there a question? Why would you not want Brandy representing you at the table? Because guess what? Like I said, the landlord's paying for
I know. I know it's free of charge. And then, those business owners, you have so much to focus on. You're focused on your revenue, you're focused on your product, you're focused on your employees. The last thing you have time to do is drive all over the city trying to find the perfect space for your expansion. And when we build a relationship, we sit down, evaluate who your customer base is, and we spend the time going all over the city, combing through different sites and locations for you to find you the perfect space almost at no cost to the client, right? Like so then you don't have to worry or spend your time, and you just allow us to go out and find you the perfect space. And either way it goes, like the landlord will And if when you're not represented, the landlord just keeps that little bit right back in his
Mm-hmm.
pocket. It doesn't even go to the small business owner. He just puts that right back in his pocket. So, and then you take the risk of not being, experienced and entering into a legally binding contract with no one on your side. It's pretty
Right.
dangerous. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. That's like no one having your six, or you just going in with no
Yep.
defense,
You
right?
kick the
So
door
there,
in and
yeah.
nobody's standing behind you. And so when you start taking
Mhm.
flat, kicking in the door.
And you wouldn't go into battle
Mm-mm.
unprepared for
Nope.
sure.
Sure wouldn't. Okay.
Mhm.
So now
Yeah.
I know one thing. Now we all know. Well, maybe we don't know, but we're about to enlighten some people. The landlord is not your
Mhm.
friend. I say again, the landlord is not your friend. Now, give
Yeah.
him the ugly. And now I've heard this story once. I heard it 1,000 times. When somebody got stuck making some repairs on the building because
Oh yeah.
they didn't look for it in the lease, they didn't know to look for it in the lease. Tell them about some of the ugly things you've seen that these landlords slide by. That if they're not working
Oh
with
yeah.
you, they might get away with.
Mhm. Mhm. So sometimes the landlord, there's no cap on the repair fees, right? There might be some repair fees associated with the space that you're occupying, right? But there'll be no cap. So then the landlord just rolls up when the air conditioner goes out. Then the landlord will just roll in and say, "Hey, you owe, a high astronomical amount on this big air conditioning fee, and because I don't have any other tenants, you got to cover 90% of the
Now,
expense on that." Like,
y'all
oh
know
my
how
goodness.
much an AC costs on your house. What do you think it
Whew.
is on a
Yes.
commercial space? Okay.
You're well over tens of thousands of dollars. So this can be an unforeseen expense that throws you off guard, And while you're negotiating, when you have someone like me or anyone, an experienced commercial agent representing you, we can negotiate and put caps on that and talk that down with the landlord or the property manager so that you're not blindsided by that. Somebody has your back and somebody's watching your six to make sure that you are covered on those
Mm-hmm.
situations. Yeah, it's extremely important. And the other one is sometimes build out expenses, or when you have to modify a space for your purposes, right? Negotiating how that will be paid. Oftentimes, people, if they're brand new, they think if they need to change a space, that they have to come in with the shelving, they have to come in with, installing walls and cover all of the expense themselves. Sometimes those things can be negotiated to where, the landlord will participate in some of those expenses, right? So all of that is often new and not negotiated by a first time or inexperienced or someone with no representation. Those are definitely fees, very expensive fees that are often
Mm-hmm.
overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't want to get caught
Yeah,
like
because
that.
I've heard stories about the main pipe breaking underneath the floor, and they had to tear up the foundation. They're like that, and you know who ends up paying
Oh
for that?
yeah.
The customer.
Uh-huh. hmm And so those things, man, when you put a cap on it and you have someone representing you, we enter terms into the lease and the agreement and ensure that the customer is covered and that the small business owner or small tenant or large tenant does not incur or so much damage on those things. I mean, yes, you'll have, a small portion of it, but you shouldn't be carrying the load for the whole facility or the whole building. And that happens to some tenants.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it
And
does.
that'll break you right there. So
hmm Oh
okay,
yeah.
there's so much
hmm
more. I mean, we could do 10 hours of this show, and it still wouldn't be enough because like, there's so many different things. And like I said, this is one of the biggest investments you're going to make. Not only from you know uh, if you're like a retail store, you got to have it's all about location, location, location. You got to have that foot traffic, but at the same time, just the expense of it all, things like that. Even if you're not a heavy foot traffic, like if you're like a somebody who doesn't just you're manufacturing parts, you don't necessarily need walk-in traffic, but having the right space, having the right deal, having the right negotiated lease can make or break the company. You know what I'm saying? The money that you're paying the
hmm
landlord could have went to you buying a new piece of equipment. The money that you're paying the landlord could have went to you hiring a couple more techs to where you could have upped your revenue and things like that. So these are the things that are super crucial
hmm
about having the right person negotiating your lease, or later on down the road negotiating your building purchase, because like I said, you got to think end game. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you might be thinking about leasing today, 2 years down the road, you best be thinking about buying it, you know what I'm saying? Or buying something else. So, Brandy, why don't you go ahead? We're coming kind of, you know, close to the end of the show here. So I want people to just go ahead and get all your contact information. Just let them know how they can get a hold of you, and just let them know, hey, you know, and like I said, maybe they can give you a call, set up down some time, you know, a coffee or something like that, or a lunch, and go over it and bounce ideas off you and stuff.
Right. Like I said, my services are definitely free just to sit down and discuss options. So I would be more than happy to, assist anyone who needs help, especially my veterans. I have a special place in my heart for them after serving so many years. So definitely you can reach me via phone. So you can give me a call at area code 623-227-0074. Again, that number is area code 623-227-0074. And Chris, you remember when you first joined the military, and I'm not sure they used to do it for all of my old veterans. They used to have that
Oh,
gas chamber. Do you
yeah, I
remember the
went through it a
gas
couple
chamber, Chris?
times, unfortunately.
Me too. Me too, right? And so when you're brand new and you're trying to go through the gas chamber, you're going into a facility, you have no idea what's about to happen. It's kind of scary, right? But usually there's some instructor or guide who tells you step by step what's about to happen, what to expect, how to prepare yourself to enter into this gas chamber and get out so that you are not harmed and the suck is
Right.
not that
Oh, it's
bad,
gonna
right?
suck.
You just go through your eyes. Yeah, it's gonna suck, you know it, right? Commercial real estate, finding a space is expensive, and it's probably one of the biggest expenses a small business will have. You know this is gonna hurt, but it's always better, and you come out with less harm if you go through it with somebody who can guide you and teach you how to get through that gas chamber. So I hope that to all my veterans out there, that if you take nothing away from this, that you find someone to guide you through the process of finding the correct space for commercial real estate. I hope you definitely don't go in there on your own in this smoke
Mm-hmm.
filled room trying to breathe and figure it out yourself. It's very
Absolutely.
dangerous. So I really hope you partner with someone, and I'd love to help you walk through the
Absolutely.
process. So I appreciate the
Oh no,
time,
not a
Chris. I
problem at
really
all. Like I
do.
said, this is one of the most crucial
Yeah.
shows I think I will ever do, just because of the fact this is one of the most crucial elements of being in business for yourself. And that's the one thing that we talked about on past episodes as well, is that you got to let the experts handle those. Because like, so you know how to make your
Yeah.
widget, you know how to provide your service. You don't know how to do your own taxes. You might be
Mm-hmm.
financially savvy. Dude, I've been in business finance 25 years. I don't do my own taxes. Okay, I get a CPA. All right. So like I said, hey, I've been in business finance 25 years. If I'm looking to lease a space, you think I'm going to go negotiate that on my own? Nope. I sure ain't. I'm calling Brandy, like, Brandy, hook me up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not. Cause, plus,
I
I'm not
got you.
trying to. I got stuff I got to do that generates money for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't got the time to be looking around, rolling here. No, let Brandy. That's Brandy's job. Okay, hire Brandy, get her
I
on the
got you.
job, let her find that space for you, and you just keep bringing the cash register. Just keep bringing that cash register. All right, so we're gonna bring this to a
You
close.
got it.
Again, I wanted to once again, first of all, I'm honored. You know, like I said, I got to meet Brandy. She like I said, she works for Bobby, who is a friend of mine too. And when I met her, like I said, I saw her on LinkedIn. I was like, oh, I was like, oh, retired Air Force. I'm like, that's my girl. I got to talk to her. I got to meet her. I got to meet her husband, James. Brother James is the coolest cat. He's a Marine that actually knows how to read, which is scary. It's a rare breed. I think he should have went to the Army recruiter, but he got
Okay.
went over the wrong door. But that's all right though. But I was so
Uh-huh.
honored to go to your retirement ceremony. It was just so awesome, and it was so cool.
It was
It was so
wonderful.
cool.
It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
So
It
I'm
was.
honored
Yeah.
to have been able to participate in something as special as that. And I'm just honored to work with you, and I'm so comfortable with sending my clients to you. So it's like I know they're taken care of. You know what I'm saying? I know they're gonna be taken care of right. So I said, so
Same.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge, and I appreciate you representing all of us that are out there, that brothers and sisters of the DD 214. This is Chris Flowers. This is Here's the Deal,
Oh,
where we bring it to you raw, bring it to you real. Like I said, this is a combination of Dave Ramsey, Maria Bartiromo, and Joe Rogan. We're not pulling punches. This is not academia. This is here's the deal, and we're out.